Who wants to play video games?
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going over, finally, the Misery Sequence game from Blast Pro from a while ago. This was the first round in the playoffs upper bracket, and we actually ended up winning this one and sending Sequence to the lower bracket. This was the third set. We won the first one, and we lost the second one just barely. It was really close, so it all came down to this. In our Survivor game, we managed to pop all the gens versus Volga's twins, so the win condition for me was to get a 4k1. So if I could get that 4k1, we won the game, and if not, then they would win, and it was kind of all on this moment. So it was pretty stressful, but, you know, we'll just talk about how the game went. Again, I wanted to go over this earlier, after the game first happened, within the next week or so, and I promised you guys that, but I got busy, caught up in other things, and I couldn't do it. So we are reviewing it a little bit late. We're reviewing it now. So yeah, let's just head right into this. Like always, this is Blast Pro, so it's cast in Portuguese, so I'm sorry if you can't understand it, but I wanted to keep the sound on just so you might be able to hear anything on the side here. Of course, I started by... I spawned on the bottom side and shack side. Survivors with spawn offerings all spawned on main side. So your first job is to get Charlotte top mid, and then send Victor out to go find survivors. So we'll hit play from that moment on.
Salve, salve guys, estamos de volta para nossa sexta e última partida desse confronto. Nossa última partida também de hoje. Já estamos vendo aí a Misery.
So I couldn't find any survivors in the initial Victor send out, so I decided to swap back to Charlotte and check the other side of the choke point to make sure no one was rotating down. I saw the scratch marks, but since it already passed, there's really nothing I could do about it, so I went back into Victor to see if I could stop anyone else from rotating. Luckily, I spotted IPEC trying to rotate down the left side, and so this is a very early hit for me. If you're on Survivor side, you really shouldn't be playing Pallets vs Victor, because if the twins knows what they're doing, they should always get the hit there. So, that was just a really free tag for me. Because of the pallet structure, or the setup that he had over here, I knew I could chase this, and since the other survivors at this point should have rotated down, there was no one else that could really interrupt with Charlotte, so I decided to just go for the down on him. This is NA East to Russia, so that is the hit over the pallet like that, and that is a very fast down. My goal here is to hook Pain Res before the first gen pops. I managed to do that, so now I'm in a really good spot. They get no finished generator for first hook. The gen with the most progress gets regressed by 25%. And then if I can find another survivor with Victor, I have a survivor interrupted while one is hanging on hook, and it's just like the perfect spot to be in. I look around on the same side to see if I can find anyone who might be stopping for the pull. If you can catch them with Victor before they have a chance to trade or go for the unhook, you're in a really good position. But I couldn't find anyone because I didn't check deep enough on the right side at the tile where XI is rotated up. Which was unfortunate. And I didn't want to risk anyone sneaking around and getting the pull on me because this needed to go second stage if I wanted to win this. So I opt just to camp this to second, instead of taking any risks trying to tag someone. Which means the gen pressure is going to be a little bit higher than it normally would be. now that iPick has gone second and the first gen has popped, I'm going to switch back to Victor and try to tag a survivor. I know where one of them is, and I know that someone was working on that bottom left generator since it got deadlocked. I did make the mistake this game of never checking the tile on the other side of the top side here at 2. Well, Xeyes was just working that gen for free, and I never pressured it because I wasn't thinking. I assumed that if someone rotated up, they'd be rotating up for pull, not for generator, and Sequence actually played that very, very smart because I never checked the gen. I park Victor top mid for 2 reasons. One, if iPick gets pulled, then he'll be running into Victor and I can get the down on him. And 2, if anyone tries to rotate up the middle of the map for the pull, then I get the tag for free from Victor. Now my goal here is to just tunnel out iPick as quickly as possible. Here's where things get a little goofy. iPick hops into the locker, and I noticed that there was a survivor stealthing around with a firecracker, and they were going to go for a firecracker save, because locker firecracker saves still work in the game. Now, I was under the impression that you couldn't get firecracker saved from this locker, which is just stupid now that I think back on it. You can get firecracker saved from this locker, and it's very obvious, and I should have realized that back then. So, if I pull this and I get the firecracker save, I'm in a really bad spot, and I could potentially lose the game from that save alone, because I lose my tunnel out, and they can potentially take a head-on or a hit or something to stop iPick from getting tunneled, and it's just really bad for me. But if they mess up the firecracker save and I get this early kill, then my win is all but confirmed. So, here's what ends up happening. So, they mess up the firecracker save, so now I have my tunnel out at 4 gens, and I'm in a really, really good spot here. I still have my 3 gen intact topside, or so I thought. I park Charlotte bottom mid, getting ready to play my gen setup on the bottom side, while sending Victor topside to get the tag on whoever popped that generator so that they can't work any gens on this side, while I pressure the bottom side survivor since there should be 2 at bottom. I'm stressing a little bit because of the generator pop, and because of the fact that I almost lost the game from a firecracker save. So I do miss this shot, which is really unfortunate. Luckily, Ping is on my side, and so he doesn't get the kick. Here I'm just swinging, trying to waste time and maybe lands a little bit of a hit through a pallet if he tries to greed for a stun. I'm mostly just waiting for Victor to come back. Now that I have Victor back, I can get a tag on someone bottom side, and Xeyes won't be able to heal top side since there's no one up there to heal him. Here I want you to pay attention to something really important. As I've mentioned before, I think double speed is superior add-on combination to speed and sword. And this is a really good example of a time where most people would think you need Toy Sword to land the hit, but as long as you charge up early enough, you can get the hit. So I want you to pay attention to where I charge my power, because without Toy Sword, you can, or with Toy Sword, you can do it later, but without, you have to do it at this early time to get the hit. Right now I'm looking for where Swatter is, trying to interrupt his gen progress, while also making sure I keep an eye on where Seth is going.
Mano 7 vai revocar o W pro outro lado. Jukebox recupera o Vitinho. E agora tem o Vitinho para conseguir a downtaria. Mais um gerador foi finalizado.
Now I've lost my gen setup on the bottom side, so we're 2-2 split. But luckily in the 3v1, Twins does not need a 3-gen in order to win.
Solta o Vitinho então. Sexto ponto da sequência. Precisa dessa down rápida.
Seth forces Locker, so I can't slug for X-Eyes, which was really smart. If Seth doesn't force Locker there, I can send Victor topside to look for X-Eyes, and they're in a really, really bad spot.
E tem o Pernas para trabalhar. Será o que o X-Size topa mais um gerador nesse tempo? Dá uma olhadinha no Gen X-Size. Gen X-Size não vai popar, vai tomar esse Pernas.
Unfortunately, I used the top mid hook, so I couldn't get a fast pain res. Since the top mid hook was used for a kill. Which puts me in a really bad spot, because right as I'm about to hook this, Deadlock procs on the gen, which means I'm not going to get pain res on that generator.
Não, ele popou o Deadlock. Cara, genial. Genial da sequence. O Swatter popa o Deadlock pro Gen do X-Size não tomar o Pernas.
So now I'm trying to interrupt Swatter on the bottom side to make sure that he can't get progress down here while X-Eyes is stuck, injured. If I can get the tag onto Swatter, then I'm in a really good spot actually, because X-Eyes can't reset.
Deadlock traiu o Jukebox. E agora o jogo muda drasticamente.
But I end up finding X-Eyes instead.
Que absurdo.
He's near the locker, so there's really not a whole lot I can do there, besides just protect my hook.
Oitavo ponto da sequence. 8-7 para a sequence. O Jukebox não pode mais tomar gen. Acabou errando o Vitinho.
Unfortunately, I get stuck there because of ping, he might have gotten hit through the locker, but I'm not able to.
Era muito importante. Ele conseguiria dar um do X-Size e jogaria pelo
Now I
sniper.
spot Swatter rotating up, and so I'm going to go and interrupt the unhook.
Muito avançado na Revelar Build. O Swatter não quer dar esse free hit. Cara, o gerador tá muito avançado. E o X-Size pode até comentar aquele gen, dependendo. Muitas possibilidades para equipe da sequence. O jogo azedou demais. Genial aquela play do Swatter de popar o gen do Deadlock.
Here I'm pretty much letting Swatter get the save by just getting a tag with Victor, but that gives him a false sense of security knowing that he can trade for the hook, which is exactly what I want him to do, so I can get a pain res.
Perez no momento perfeito. Agora vai aplicar a troca.
If Swatter wasted too much time, X-Eyes would have time to pop the bottom generator, but injuring him forces him to make a decision, and the decision he makes is actually the wrong one.
Faz a troca. E agora sim vai ter o Perez. Será que combina a tempo? Consegue
Now this top gen is dying, even though it was 90-something% and was so close to popping.
dar o Perez no gerador Jukebox. Segura como pode. Primeiro gancho do Mano Swatter. E a sequence não pode errar. O erro aqui acabou a partida. E a Misery vai pro próximo round.
Here I can follow the blood that is being left behind by Seth, and all I need to do here is get a double slug to win.
Duas pessoas machucadas. O X-Size precisaria tentar poupar o gen do outro lado. Já foi spotado, o Jukebox percebeu a maldade, voltou pra Nia. Cara, e aonde tá o X-Size? Será que tá pro save? Será que vai pegar o gen? A Nia acaba
Now I just have to find where X-Eyes is, and I have a feeling he's working on the bottom generator, because they need to pop that to at least tie.
caindo. Cadê o X-Size? Só sobrou o X-Size. E o Jukebox está muito perto de conseguir garantir essa vitória. Cara, que partida tensa. E o Vitinho encontrou? Encontrou, cara.
And then I find him.
A Misery vai vencer a partida, senhoras e senhores. Jukebox vai conseguir a down do X-Size.
And that secures the 4K1 once I hook these survivors, which gave Misery the win and sent Sequence down to the loser's bracket.
Busca o 4K1 gen up. Cara, que absurdo.
So yeah, honestly, it was a pretty short Twins game too. The last down happened at like 8.5 minutes, which is a lot faster than a lot of Twins games. My Twins games tend to be brief because of the fast tunnel out and the aggressive playstyle I have. So this is just an example of being able to play them very aggressively. There was a lot of back and forth this game. There were moments where I made mistakes and I could have potentially lost, but luckily I was able to hold my ground and made less mistakes towards the end, and keeping that cool mind allowed me to win this. And very briefly, just want to talk about the build I'm running. As I've mentioned before, I love double speed. It's great for avoiding hit takes and preventing survivors from reaching lockers, body blocking, and things like that. As for the perks, Corrupt and Force Penance are pretty much must-haves, and at this point I would say Pain Res is too. Pain Res allows for your first hook to prevent a generator from popping, which is insanely good for an early camp, and also allows you to prevent generators from popping in the 3v1, which can potentially allow you to get a 4K at higher amounts of generators, like 2 or even 3 if the survivors make a few mistakes towards the beginning or towards the middle. So I think Pain Res is kind of a must at this point. A lot of tournaments ban Deadlock, but this tournament did not, so I ran Deadlock in this tournament. And Deadlock is just very good. In the past, in the last video I made, the one where I played versus Deathwish, I showed a really, really solid example of why Deadlock is solid on Twins, if you want to check out that video and see how I explained it in that video. But essentially, because Twins has so much high pressure, the 99 gen strat on Deadlock, sometimes you can prevent survivors from even going back to it, and especially if they 99 it and it gets Pain Res later, they lose a lot of their pressure that way. I no longer think that this is the strongest Twins build in the game right now, though, as I originally thought. I currently think the strongest Twins build in the game is Corrupt, Forced, Pain Res, and Forced Hesitation. I'd love to just talk about Forced Hesitation on Twins specifically sometime, but unfortunately that'll have to be at another time. But a lot of tournaments are banning Forced Hesitation because of how strong it is. With the upcoming changes to hook camping, no more hook grabs and things like that, I think Forced Hesitation is going to find its way nicely in the meta for a lot of killers, and especially on Twins. So maybe I will talk about that at some point if they go through with the hook changes, which I'm assuming they will. So yeah, anyway, that was our game versus Sequence in Blast Pro. Hope you guys learned something today. Like always, if you have any questions about Twins or, I don't know, comp or anything like that, you can just let me know down in the comments and I'll answer all the questions I can. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.